absolutely voluntary, but we're really grateful to see your faces or your little icons out there, and are grateful that you are interested. We are recording this because we want to make sure our board members have the opportunity to review the input and make sure that they get that input. We thought that we would give our staff just this opportunity where they didn't have to show up special to a meeting. They could jump on from wherever they were. Some of you right after work, some of you probably may even not have all your kids out the door yet, but wanted to give you a chance just to make it easy for you to give feedback related to the levy. Let me see if this actually works. There is a little symbol that tells, I think what's the icon, like a hands up or a thumbs up. How many of you were able to watch the really short video that accompanied the survey that went out? Can you kind of show me?
How do we do that again?
So we sent out a couple of links. It's Mr. Russell just kind of going through. Mr. Jers, I think
to put your thumb up, you click up, and the little top, there's a toolbar. There's a person with a hand, a little smiley face, and there's a like or a thumbs up button, or you could raise your hand.
So yeah, it's at the top of my bar. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. And that works too, Mr. Foster. I can see that. All right, so Mr. Jers, where I know that we were thinking about playing it, we do have several that have seen it. So I would encourage you, if you haven't seen it, I think it's only 3.5 or 4 minutes. It kind of tells you where we have been with the levy and where the board is kind of thinking of going. So hopefully you've had a chance to do that. If not, it is out on the website on the trustee page where you can access that really short video. And we're hoping that you were able to fill out the survey with your thoughts and ideas. But tonight, it really is your time to share with us your thoughts and ideas. And I'm going to just be quiet here for a little while. Mr. Jers, if they do want to share, what's the easiest way for us to do this?
I think what we should do is probably have you raise your hand, and then I'll call through you, go through and call on you as you do that. So if everybody wants to raise their hand, we'll go through and call on folk.
And we weren't going to time you, but there are several of you on here. So if you can keep it to 3 minutes or less, if there are more thoughts that you need to share with us, we want to hear that. Shoot it to us in the survey, or just shoot it to me in email at pkeller@nsd131. So who wants to start this listening opportunity?
Looks like Steve.
Mr. Mine.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I never been, I guess, one to not too shy to share my opinion or feelings on things. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not, I guess. But I am, this is what, my 6th year down here at Nampa. I absolutely love working for the Nampa School District, and I love working at Nampa High. Several years back, I took an opportunity to go work for the Army full-time, or the Guard, and was making about double what I make here now, and came back to this job because I love this job. That I'm hoping that we get support, particularly from the board, for the levy. And my biggest concern right now is where is our current board and where's our new board members going to come down on the levy, and what kind of support they're willing to put behind this. We can only do so much with so much resources, and you know, as if we are in a situation where we're being asked to do more with less, that's frustrating, and I don't know that that's a system that I'm going to want to stick around and be part of. I love my kids and I love working here, but I'm not necessarily wanting to work in a system where we're cutting electives and we're putting more and more bodies into classes. 35, 36 kids in a class is a struggle already. And so I'm not necessarily looking to move, to see us go in that direction, especially when we don't have to. So given the current political environment right now, looking at the election, with the last school board, the community in Nampa spoke fairly loudly. This is the direction they want to go in. But I'm really worried that the levy may not pass. And if, the board members that, are incoming board members and current board members, if they're not putting their full weight and support behind it, I don't see a levy passing. And then I think we're going to be in a position where we have to make some tough choices. And I think you're going to see some teachers vote with their feet if that's the case. So that's my perspective on there. I want to see the levy pass. I want to see support. I want to see us as a community support that. I'm hoping we get there, but that's where I'm at on things. So.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mon. Appreciate it. Go ahead and put your hands up, and Peter will keep calling names. So if you do want to speak next, just go up to that top bar at the top, the little hand with the face, and lift up your hand, and certainly want to give everybody an opportunity to share.
Charles, looks like you're on deck.
Okay,
Camera and go.
I'll try to be quick. I know I responded to the survey. I'm a 6th grade reading teacher, and looking at the data coming into this year, all other teachers have seen the same thing. Our kids lost about a year and a half, or a lot of time in the classroom. And I saw the reading scores come in. We do a program called Read Theory, which places them at their reading level. And 40 to 50% of our kids were, 70% of our kids were below 6th grade reading level, but about 40 or 50 were 3rd grade or lower coming into 6th grade, and it concerned me. So one of my responses on the survey is, I really think, and I know I'm 70, so I'm going to be retiring in a few years, and what I'm going to be retiring to do is into tutoring, because we need monies to go into tutoring for our kids in our district. They are extremely low in math and reading, and we know that, and we're working with it. And we're doing a program at Lone Star called Win What I Need, and we're doing closed sessions to make up for losses, but it is nearly an impossibility to make up those losses. So my concern is in this levy. I know we have so many programs that need the money, and they're lowering the money for the levy than we've had in the past. So even to keep current programs going is going to be tough. But I do hope the board considers monies into additional teaching positions or staff members who can, some of these tutor, because some of these kids, it just isn't going to happen in a classroom. It's got to be one-on-one or one-on-two. I've seen that with last year. We had the Wednesdays where I could spend time with device one-on-one with kids to try to bring them up to their level. But anyway, that's my comment. I'll be short, but I'm concerned about those low kids and the kids that are close to 6th grade that just need the extra help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. For those of you who just joined us, we're just asking you to raise your hand, and then Mr. Jers is going to call on you. The little hand figures up at the top there with that menu. We are really quiet.
Since no one else wants to go, I'll go real quick. I just had a very interesting call with a parent of a Waihe Elementary student. The student is actually wheelchair bound. And one of the things that he was advocating for was the fact that the student gets excluded when they go out to recess because the playground is not accessible. Needless to say, this is one of the things that is actually being considered for our current levy and could be a very important topic for us for just legal compliance, let alone inclusivity and the other stuff that goes along with that. And he had some really valid points. We're going to be looking at some other stuff in the building, making sure that we're kind of up to snuff. But that's the one that I'm like, we really need this funding to address that issue.
And why he specifically is the playground that's next on the list. Yeah, thank you for hearing that, Mr. Juris. Other folks, this is open. We want to hear your thoughts and ideas, supporting it or not supporting it. It's a safe place to share those ideas. And if you can't find the silly hand, just pop on your mic and speak. Oh,
Cody, you're up.
Hey guys, sorry I joined a little bit late. I wrote a letter and I sent it in to the board to take a look at it. It's a lengthy letter, so I won't bore you all with the details here. But when I submitted it through the thing, it lost some of the formatting. So if you guys want to see it, if the board needs to review it in letter form, just let me know. I just want to make sure that they, I'm the director of technology here at NAMPA, for those who don't know me, but I just want to make sure that we keep in mind the need for the technology side of the levy as well. We have a lot of devices. They're doing a lot of good things, and we have to keep those refreshed, and we have to keep replacing them every 4 years. They break down, they get old, parts are hard to get. We can't repair them as fast. And as we've seen over the past year and a half, 2 years now with COVID, 1-to-1 is pretty much the normal now. So we have to maintain that fleet. We also have some pretty important technology department positions that are currently on the levy that we need. And those are all described in the letter I wrote. So I asked the board to review that letter, and if they have any questions, to let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krebs. Appreciate it. Others? I see a lot of names here, and I know many of you are not that shy.
Randy.
Can you guys see me? Yes.
Yes.
And so, hey, I'm Randy. I'm the I'm the finance director here at the district, and I just kind of want to put my take on this. We do have many federal funds, and I think we have done a pretty good job of trying to look at what federal funds can pay for things, so we don't have to push that expense down to our patrons. I think we have really looked at what our new potential ask is and what we're trying to do, and try to help limit whatever payroll and whatever expenses are out there for any patron of our district. The couple things I want to make sure that we're aware of is when I came on board and we had very small supplemental levy, we had no money for curriculum. I mean, the state gives us no additional money. The only money they've given us in the last years for anything like that, they gave us 1 year of like 300 grand. After that, the only money they've been given is really for teachers in the career ladder. Haven't really given us much in discretionary funding, and all of our raises for our paras and classified have been having to come out of other monies basically in order to keep up with even wage hikes and stuff throughout this throughout our area. The other area that truly worries me if this were to go away is we do put a good chunk of money towards our activities programs, and it's not just the sports programs at the high schools and middle schools. This is really our arts and our activities at elementaries, our music and stuff at elementaries, and field trip money for elementaries. And in the past, we used to have to charge kids to pay $50 a sport just to bus the students around just to be able to play, which is a barrier to entry in all of our sports. And it worries me if we do not have the ability to get this small amount of money and to help our students with that. The part that I want to make sure that everybody also understands is the amount that we get is a fixed dollar amount, regardless of what property tax value is in this area. So a lot of people believe that because their property tax value goes up, they've paid more towards Nampa School District taxes. That is not true. So unless your value goes up faster than somebody else's, we get the same dollar amount, regardless if there's a $10 billion value for our district or a $15 billion district. We get the exact same amount. So I just want to make sure people understand how that truly works in our world and listen appropriately to those comments if people are saying those type of things. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Dewey.
Looks like Kathleen's up.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think everyone who owns a home knows that if you don't keep up with your maintenance, you're going to end up with really big bills and really big problems. And I remember 2 years ago, before we passed the current levy, we came up with a very detailed maintenance plan. And so I'm really, really worried that when I look at what is being targeted by this possible replacement levy, that some of what's gone away is that maintenance. I think that's just a crisis in the making. It's something that we know we need to handle, and we don't have for a lot of it. Some of it we do, but for a lot of it, we don't have other sources. And so I think we need to keep that in mind, that there isn't currently another vehicle in place to be able to fund this other than some sort of levy or some sort of bond. And so I would just encourage the board to keep that in mind as they look at how much money we might need moving forward.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, I can't say Mrs. Tuck. Thank you, Kathleen. Other ideas or thoughts, things that you would like our board to consider?
We got Michelle.
Michelle, will you turn on your camera and, oh, Michelle Tanberg. Hi, Michelle.
Hey, gracious, good afternoon. And I tried to make prepared remarks so that I wouldn't go on. But hearing Randy Dewey's testimony, I see that there's probably a real need for an educational PowerPoint to circulate among service groups and business entities, meetings kind of thing, as we've done in the past, which, by the way, we did in the past. After it failed once or twice, we finally got our campaign underway. And I work at the Nova School right now. I'm an online teacher. I work in the tower room. I'm growing my hair so that I can throw it out the window and escape. I've spent all of my Christmas stamps one year to pass that levy. For the last levy campaign, I wrote personal letters to the businesses I could find that had a place in Nampa, and they were part of Business for Ed folks. And I told them point blank, I found your name on a website. And so I'm asking you to tell all the people that work for you and live in Nampa to pass the levy. So as a teacher activist and a member of the Nampa Education Association, I jumped on the opportunity to go forth and help educate people. What I'd like to see happen, and I don't know if there's funding for this sort of thing, I really think there should be some kind of a big pro-education campaign peopled with our own students, with their family members and their teachers, that would kind of get across the message that we support education and learning and intelligence and the wonderful thing that it is, and, you know, some kind of a rah-rah campaign. I'm so tired of that bus campaign where they drop the kids off in the country and point the finger at education, you know. So I'd like to, I don't know if that's going to be in funding anywhere like that, or if we would have to seek that sort of a program created by our advocates in the Business for Education or something. But I think when we talked, somebody said something about the learning. Charles Foster spoke about the loss of learning. There's a loss of attitude. We need to get some rah-rah going, because I think school's the coolest thing. I'm not 70, but I'm about ready to quit school and run away and get a real job, because I'm old enough to retire, and I think I will. So I'd like to see a nice campaign to combat the people in place to that denigrate education. I'd like to combat that in our community. There you go.
Thank you, Michelle. Perfect. Peter, did I see another one when Michelle raised her hand?
Cody popped up again, but he just put a comment in the chat. So
Okay. And the chat is accessible to everybody, is that correct?
that is correct.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Love to hear from some of the rest of you who are on here. Thank you for joining us.
Come on, somebody else, raise your hand.
I am resisting calling out names because I don't want to do that, but I do have that list over here. Oh, I see somebody.
Looks like we got Heather. Yep. Go
Hi,
ahead, Heather.
Heather.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us.
So I work as a para in the district. I'm over at Nampa High. And I just want you guys to know it's so important that our impoverished students receive just the funding that this means for them, allows students to have access to just so many opportunities, especially in the activities. Like, I really appreciate the talk about activities, because if we increase the cost, you know, the cost of living here, as you all know, has gone up tremendously. And so when we have our impoverished families not being able to access activities, that means their student loses out on, you know, opportunities to learn how to do things that could potentially keep them in school. So I know for a lot of the students, there are some students that come just to school just for art. And that's the only reason they're passing class is art or band. And so I really think it's really important that we remember that those things are what drive our students to want to come to school.
Perfect. Heather, thanks for joining us even from the car. I appreciate that. You know, we can create a line. Peter could create a line of several people with their hands up at a time if you would like. Any other thoughts or ideas that you would love for the board to have? While we're waiting, just a reminder, the survey is out there. I think it closes either late tonight or early tomorrow morning, and then we'll begin disaggregating it so the board has a week to review the information. So if you haven't gotten that link, please talk with Peter Juris. We'll figure out why you didn't. Please go ahead and submit that. And then you are always welcome to write the board on our webpage under trustees. There is a link that allows you to just, you know, free write whatever you would like to comment. So if the survey didn't cover your thoughts and ideas, please feel free to share your thoughts with the board using that link.
I put the link in the chat.
Thank you, Mr. Juris. All right. So, Mr. Juris, there was an idea in the chat to view the video. I'm wondering if you do have it queued up.
I do.
So it's, I think, 3.5 minutes, and we'll queue it up for those of you who didn't get a chance to see it. We'll look at it. If something pops up in your mind, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll get to you right after this short video. Feel like an MC introducing a commercial.
Well, hello. This short presentation is designed to inform and gather community input on the district's supplemental levy. This proposed supplemental levy would replace the current levy that is set to expire at the end of this fiscal year. The Napa School Board of Trustees would like to inform you about the needs of the district and would ask you to participate in a short survey following this presentation. First, we feel it is important to inform you about a few priorities that help shape this levy. The Napa School District always strives to have a strong commitment to excellence. This levy will support our schools and continue the excellent programs that meet our students' needs. The second key priority is to continue the strong relationships we have with our community. We value community input and look to educate our community about the needs within the district. Lastly, we strive to be fiscally responsible. We understand the dramatic increase in property tax we have experienced in our community, and we look to be sensitive to the needs of our patrons by reducing the tax burden. The district is asking for $7,950,000 per year for 2 years. This is a dramatic drop of almost $5 million less than our current levy. You will see here the areas of need within the district. First, this levy will support teaching and support staff positions to maintain class sizes and to continue funding many of our current programs. This levy will also support early childhood education and continue staffing, curriculum, and supplies for our preschool programs. Money from this levy will also go towards our technology needs, which includes internet infrastructure, updating our schools with the latest technology, as well as funding our student and teacher devices. Curriculum is another important piece in this levy. We will continue to update our curriculum as we have in the past, and this levy will ensure our students have updated curriculum, including new textbooks and online digital tools. Transportation is another area that will be supported by this levy. This includes funding for our activities like our athletic programs, band and music, as well as transportation for our preschool programs. This levy will continue to support our extracurricular programs in all schools, K-12, with new instruments, updated uniforms, and maintaining athletic and performing arts facilities. We have been purposeful about updating safety in our schools by increasing our security cameras and other security updates. This will continue to ensure our schools are as safe as possible. Lastly, we will finish off updating our elementary playgrounds, which we started several years ago. You will see here the breakdown of where the majority of the money will be used. The key here is to see that 100% of these funds will go towards supporting students and teachers. Lastly, we would like to share with you where our district's current levy rate is compared to our surrounding districts. Our levy rate, seen here in yellow, is $1.64 per $1,000 of taxable value. This continues our practice of being mindful of our tax burden on our community and places us as one of the lowest in the valley. This concludes our presentation. Thank you for watching, and please remember to take our short survey. If you would like, you may provide a written comment to the Napa School Board of Trustees by using the link shown here. Thank you.
You're muted, Paula.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I thought you had me muted for good, Peter.
No.
I see that spurred just a lot of questions out there. Again, that video is available on the website under the trustees. So if that's information that you or someone that you know would like to review, it's there. If the board does choose, and it is on the docket for December 20th for our board meeting, for them to take this topic up. If they do choose to run it, just wanted you to know, Michelle, that we would, again, we get to educate, we don't get to advocate for anything, but the district would work with our community, those who support us, in creating a campaign so that people understood what the needs were and kind of build that deep understanding. So we're at 4:29, 4:30. If anybody else does have some questions or thoughts, our board members have committed to viewing all of these videos. Anybody else want to share in person? Oh, Mr. Miller, are you wanting to do that? I see you come on.
You're muted.
I can't hear you.
Brett, you're muted.
Okay, there we go. It said I was not muted, but is that better?
Yes,
That's
we
better.
can hear you. Thank
Okay.
you.
So I'm at Home Depot. I didn't want to say anything, but I need to. So I think the main thing, my thought is, from a taxpayer point of view and from a school teacher point of view, I can appreciate greatly what the school district admin is trying to do in cutting, saying, oh, this time when we come before you, we're actually asking for less, and it's going to, your taxes are actually going to be less. But what I want to make sure of is that you're not asking for too little. Because from a taxpayer point of view, I look at it like, I'd rather have you ask me for a larger sum, and then instead of saying next time, say, well, we didn't ask you for enough last time, so we need to ask for more now. I think it's easier for me to say, we just need the same amount to continue going, because I completely understand the funding and how it works, and not every bit of it, but that the schools just aren't funded enough. So I get that this is a total necessary thing that needs to be done. It needs to take place. But I just, like I said, I want to make sure that the board, that the admin at the school district office isn't trying to sell themselves short and ask for not enough. And then they get, halfway through this levy and say, oh crap, we should have asked for another $1 million. It would have made things so much easier and so much smoother. And we could have fixed these things and done so much more if we would have had that money. So that's it.
Perfect. Thanks for joining us, even from Home Depot. Anybody there clapping for you? Thank you.
No.
Really appreciate it. Others? I am practicing my teacher wait time. And you, as good students, are taxing me. See if I could really continue that. I missed Michelle's comment, and I can't get. Yes, I see the teachers go vote, and Michelle, I missed the other one. I can't seem to access the comment. Peter, is that something that you can share with us?
Yeah. So the first one was, talking about security, comments about the barcode, the asset trackers for the libraries, making sure that we kept those. I wouldn't define that as much as the security gates is a good definition, but I would consider that more as, instead of building security, as asset tracking and asset management, and making sure we're doing a good job and investing there to keep track of the things that we have invested money in.
Okay.
That we don't lose them.
Perfect. And were there other comments there? When I go to it, it just whirls for me.
Yeah. One comment that she hadn't seen the video, and yep.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
So my dear friend Kathleen Hansen would say, use your visual. Your time to comment is closing, but I'm going to watch for that hand. Oh, Matt Christ.
Paula, I'm just going to ask, the first thing I would say is thanks for the opportunity to listen, and for everybody here. What I'm wondering about is, has it been articulated to everybody the timeline for, if it isn't brought forth at this next juncture, what that looks like, and the impacts of what may happen if it doesn't get voted on in the spring, and the timeline for that, kind of the current supplemental levy sunsetting and when that money goes away, and so people understand it. Well, if we don't get it this time, we can just run it again in a month later, or the misconceptions around that. Maybe just not sure that information has been communicated to all.
Sure. I'll do my best to communicate it there, and maybe there'll be some folks that just make sure that I haven't missed anything. We have tried to help the board understand, and they too have built their knowledge around what the timelines are. I think many of you are aware that our legislature is considering limiting the number of dates that schools could ask for levies and or bonds. Several years ago, they limited it to 4 dates. There's various legislative pieces out there that we might expect to see that would limit it maybe only to 2 dates. the May primary, and then the November typical election date. So, just want to know that that's on the horizon. The decision for a vote to go before our electorate has to be made sometime the first part of January, middle to first part of January, in order to meet the timelines that we're required to with our Canyon County. So the decision has to be made, forgive me, I don't know the date, but it's like January 13th, 14th, 15th, somewhere in that range, in order to run the levy in March. We have another opportunity and window to run it in May, which is the primary, the Republican primary in our state. If the legislature doesn't change law, you could run it in August. Our current levy expires on June 30th of 2022, so in 6 months. The difficult thing about running the levy in either May or in August is it's really difficult for us to budget on a piece of money which may or may not come to us. So if we run it in March and it passes, then when we're talking about staffing and buying equipment for students and things like that, we can go ahead and move forward with that. If we run it in May, it's difficult to budget for staffing if we don't, because we won't know the answer in May. So I think, Matt, that was maybe what you were asking. Let me check and see if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. I just wanted to make sure that the timeliness of getting it on the docket is important. Because if it doesn't pass until August, then there's a whole nother things that come into play there.
Correct. So thank you for those questions. Thanks for joining us today. Just wanted, before you leave, to remind you that the survey should be out there for all staff members. And so if you haven't received that, Mr. Jurors can help you with that link. And then you always have the opportunity to write the board on the trustee page. There's a specific link to give comments about the levy, so you still have an opportunity to share your written thoughts with the board, and we'll make sure that they get that information. We'll disaggregate it for them a little bit to help with some themes. And thank you again. Your time is precious. And I just want to take the opportunity to thank you for what you are doing for students. The care that you have, the knowledge that you have about them and what you're doing. I wanted to give you a preview of what's coming up next Wednesday. I think many of you perhaps are aware that we have had 3 students complete suicide within our district in the last few weeks. We are deeply concerned about the impact that has. We know that we've been focusing on mental health, the impact it has on our staff, has on our students. We've asked our community to join us in a community discussion related to teen mental health, to youth mental health, next Wednesday night at the NNU Brandt Center. We have been coordinating with, you name the community friend and partner we have. I think they're at the table helping us with this discussion. And so we will begin to advertising that. That has come together in the last 2 or 3 days. So this is just your private heads up and invitation to join us next Wednesday night at 6 o'clock at the NNU Brandt Center for a discussion on a really important topic. So thank you again. I hope that you have a restful evening. We will see you around. Thank you.